Oh, hey! Hey, everybody. It's been a long time, hasn't it? So, we're back at the Muletown Speed Shop today, and I need to give you an update on where we've been, because it's been like 8-9 months since we've actually made a video into me. So, I decided to take the leap, and I quit my job, and I started my own company. As you can see, there are engines everywhere, and you can probably guess what the nature of my business is. Before our hiatus, we started a series on this blue 65 F85. I wanted to build my ultimate daily driver beater muscle car. I want to get you up to speed, so hang out and let's get to it. Hi, I'm Brian with Muletown Speed, and like you, I have a passion for hot rods and project cars. I'm an engineer by trade, and my entire life I've torn stuff apart and built it back together even better than before. After working on project cars for years, I've discovered a real hole in the market to meet our needs. That's why I started Muletown Speed. Before Muletown Speed, if you were in the market for an LS engine, you had two choices. You could either spend $6,000 plus for a crate motor, or you could take your chances with a mystery motor from your local salvage yard. So our choices have been to either take out that second mortgage on our homes to buy that brand new motor, or we could take the risk of buying a boat anchor of a motor with missing parts, bad internals, or mismatched components. I've seen too many people give up their dream projects because of a bad experience with their LS motor. What if you could find that solid, used, affordable LS motor that you knew ran great, came complete with everything you were expecting to get your project moving, and you knew it would knock, leak, rattle, or make any other mystery sounds for a fraction of the price of a new crate motor? At Muletown Speed, that's what we do. Our family-run shop provides quality used engines that are cleaned, inspected, and tested before they're sold. Any engine that we find an issue with is disassembled and properly repaired. And here's the key: every engine we sell has its own video showing it run on our test stand, as well as info on any new parts specific to that engine. That way you know that your engine is solid and you know exactly what you're buying. Think of Pet Finder or Match.com, but for engines. That's something you absolutely can't get when you're buying a junkyard motor. We aren't a giant reman facility, and we don't rebuild or install engines. Our passion is to provide solid, used engines with boutique level attention to everyday car guys like you and me. Thanks for checking out Muletown Speed. Muletown monkey is not easy to mount transmission cables all over the floor. All right, everybody, welcome back to Struggle Street. I'm Brian, and let's show what's going on here. So I've been playing with this for a while, and I've gotten stuck, literally. So what I've done, I got the hinge and the trans, most of the weight in the car, and I have a jack underneath the transmission, like you normally do. And we're not up against the firewall yet, but we are up against the tunnel underneath, basically the floor. And the floor is kind of acting as a fulcrum. So as you push up on the transmission, it's pushing down on the oil pan, and the oil pan has a really deep sump on it because this is the stock truck pan. So the trucks have more ground clearance so that they can get away with a deeper sump on the oil pan. Well, that's hitting my cross member and not allowing this whole thing to slide in. So besides the oil pan, here's another thing that makes me a chump on this whole deal. So I got these motor mounts. I'm like, hey, these will replace the stock frame mounts that are on this car and allow me to bolt this to this. Well, I lined this up after I took one of those off and realized that, hey, the bolt pattern is different, it's not going to work, I got the wrong mounts. Well, dumb me, these bolt to here and these slip over those, so I'm an idiot. So these were off of a small block Chevy that I had sitting in the shop. I will remove these, put these on these brackets, and put the oil pan on, and then we're going to try this whole thing again. And I thought this would be a good opportunity to kind of show the differences here, show what we're dealing with. So let me show you. Here is a stock. This is a stock truck. 5348 6-liter oil pan. They're all pretty much the same. It has a very deep sump, so I have yet to really find a good application where this fits. I think for something like maybe a big B-body, something like that, that's not going to be too low. That should be fine. So then I was having issues with this and the T56. The bell housing was hitting the sort of the underside of the car before this sump could get over the cross member in the car, so that didn't work. So then I pulled it back out and I thought, hey, I'm going to install this F-body oil pan, which you can see the sump is longer, but it is significantly more shallow. So I thought I would try this one. You can see the difference there is pretty substantial. But the problem I ran into with this one is that I didn't have the correct oil pan pickup that goes from the oil pump down to the sump to pull oil up into the oil pump. They are different depending on the sump size. Obviously you want it to sit low in the sump, so you have to change the oil pan pickup and dipstick tube with your particular oil pan. And I didn't have either of those two items. So, and the fact that this one had a big crack in it, and I just don't trust it enough. So I could have either gotten an oil pan pickup and dipstick ordered for the F-body, 4th gen F-body pan, or I could have done what I did. If you've seen the S10 video, you have seen this before. This is the same pan we used in that application to put the 4.8 into the 2nd gen S10. This is a great kit. It's like 230 bucks, and it comes with the correct windage tray. It comes with the gasket. It comes with a pickup. It comes with an oil dipstick tube, and all the hardware. And you can see this is kind of it's a kind of a medium depth pan, but it is nowhere near as long as the F-body pan is. So it's kind of like a good intermediate deal. It fits in a lot of applications, and it's relatively cheap. So we're going to install this on the 4.8, 4-point grate, and see if we can't slam the engine and trans back in the car. hard to see, it's dark, but the shifter hole is cut, the shifter's up in the car, and it's a good spot. It should work for me. I might get a different stick just to bring it up a little bit higher and back for those driving this that might have shorter arms than I do. All right, so it's been a couple weeks since I've done a whole lot on the 65, but I have done a little bit. I'll show you what I've done. So the engine itself, engine and transmission are in the car right exactly where I want them to be. Unfortunately, my engine mounts do not line up with the frame mounts, even with the adjustability that's built into these conversion plate things to allow you to bolt a small block Chevy mount to that, but it doesn't line up with my frame mount. I'm going to need to make my own frame mounts, which is not going to be a big deal. It should actually be pretty fun. So what I did is I made a template using a factory frame mount. I traced the holes and traced around that frame mount, and what I did is I added a dingle dick off to the side here to give me more room. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this out of steel plate for both sides, and then I'm going to have just some uprights coming up with holes in them that I'm going to weld to that at a right angle, and then that will come up and meet this. So that's why it's important to get the engine exactly where you want it sitting in the car, because what I can do is I can make these plates, I can bolt the plates onto the cross member, and then from there I can make the uprights go exactly to the mounts as it sits. There is, so that plywood is spacing the oil pan. It's sitting on that right now, but it's spacing the oil pan off of the cross member, so then when I'm done, I should be able to lift the engine up a little bit, pull that piece out, bolt the engine into the chassis, and it will not be touching it, come anywhere close to contacting that cross member, and everything will be happy. All right, folks, let's recap. So The first two installments of the series on this blue 65 F85, we put the motor together. We also rebuilt the transmission. We converted an LT style, like an older LT style T56 to an LS style T56. And we also did some upgrades on some of the internal stuff just to make it a little bit more robust. Things that we've added to the engine since we put it in the car: AC compressor there. We've got our 4-bolt 90mm throttle body. That is just a Rock Auto replacement throttle body. The fabled Alibaba China harness that so far everything looks like it fits really well, good enough. And then I've got it routed through a hole that I had to cut in the firewall. So that harness comes in here, and then we've got plenty of room for our PCM, the fuse block that it comes with a couple of relays, and importantly the OBD2 connector. The firewall on that side, and I'll probably mount it up in the glove box or something like that. Let's talk cooling package. To use a Buick radiator from like the 60s, because it has both the inlet and the outlet on the same side, on the passenger side. Super easy, so it goes basically from here, to there, instead of having to go across over to there and go in front of the intake and whatever else. I attached one of the Spall fans that I had laying around. It's a 12 volt. It blows a whole lot of air and is really loud. So this is a Champion Cooling eBay radiator, and then I got this thin piece of aluminum stock, just scrap metal I had laying around that I cut and just bent over to make a top radiator mount with just some zip screws into the core support. On the front here is the AC condenser. That all gets attached with zip ties with washers on them. They go through the entire core. There's one there, all the way to the front with another zip tie, and then you just cut that zip tie off, and basically that zip tie becomes a zip tie nut, I call it. So you just cut everything flush with a washer so you don't gouge into your core. Did that with the fan as well. And that's how everything kind of turns into one neat package. I've got my fittings for my condenser here. Manual transmission. The T56 is a hydraulic clutch. I had to add a master cylinder here and the hydraulic line to go down to the slave cylinder, which is attached to the throwout bearing in the transmission next to the clutch. So what this is a JEGS universal master cylinder. It's just a cheapo little single pot master cylinder. And what I did is I just cut my hole in the firewall, and then I cut holes for the mounting bolts there just to actually secure it. And then this has the outlet here that actually pushes the fluid. This is where the fluid pressure is going to go. I had a T, I got just a T, like a brake line T, or just a hydraulic line AN T that I added, and I put a cap on the top part here, and this is going to be my bleeder to let air out of this system. And then to actuate it, I got, it's hard to see here, but this guy is a Willwood clutch or brake pedal. It's got a mounting bracket up there, and it's got a nice grippy pad. It's an aluminum casting on the pedal arm. And then the other thing I did for the brake, because this was an automatic transmission car, the brake pedal was really wide like this. So what I did is I took the pad off and I cut it to fit a manual transmission pad. Oh yes, this is a Gen 4 4.8 LS, so it is a drive-by-wire, which means I get to mount a drive-by-wire pedal wherever I want to. So this is a replacement pedal off of Rock Auto or someplace, Amazon maybe. It's plastic, and I can mount it anywhere I want to. I can literally zip screw it to the firewall wherever I want to over here, and then my harness just attaches directly to it. So all the old suspension was completely shot. It was very janky. What I did is I got some eBay tubular control arms and a disc brake conversion kit for the front of this off of Summit or JEGS. So the only thing you really need to reuse for the brake kit are your steering arms here. These are nice and big and burly, and the welds look pretty good, and so far I'm pretty happy. But I've got this side, the control arms, mocked up, and then I've started the process of actually putting the suspension together on this side. It's going to start the same thing on this side, but I noticed I had a buttload of frame rot in here. You can't see it because I've already gone through and put this patch on the outside, but before I can start putting suspension together in this, I need to get this fixed because the suspension will definitely get in the way. Underneath you can see our transmission, our T56 is just hanging out there. It's super happy, I think, right where it's at. I used the factory crossmember that came with this, and it was originally like a Turbo 350 or maybe a Power Glide 2-speed. When I got the car, it had a 700 R4 in it. The T56 is quite a bit longer, so I used a factory mount. I used the factory Oldsmobile crossmember, and I just scooted the whole thing back and then popped another couple holes here in the frame rail on each side for the new bolts for that crossmember. So that was damn skippy. But you can see the frame rot here. That's frame rail. That's not good. Okay, so that took a while, but I did get this patch done here, this guy here, and then underneath, and then on the inside, which is super hard to see, super hard to get to, but it is in, and it's really ugly. I don't even want to get close to it. If I did, it would probably say something bad about my mother. It's not pretty, but it is functional. It is probably the most solid part of the car at this point. Now these are our control arms. These are the eBay specials, and these were as cheap as buying new factory pieces because those were absolutely wasted. So does not look that bad. Alright, so it's the next day. So it's Friday, it's the weekend, I'm getting stuff wrapped up here, and I've been working on customer engines all day. I haven't really been working on this, but yesterday I did finish up some stuff. As you can see, things that make the wheels go round and round. I've got the brake rotors on, calipers, upper and lower control arms with our factory springs in there. I did cut a coil out of each one. We've got our steering stuff reconnected, our sway bar reconnected on both sides. I think I'm gonna call it there. Next time on, I guess on this build, the next build episode, there's gonna be lots of exhaust stuff happening. And we're gonna finish the brakes, fuel lines, fuel cell. Gotta finish up the wiring harness, the vintage air system, the radiator and stuff. I've gotta do hoses, heater hoses, all of the wiring. There's gonna be a lot to do. There's gonna be quite a few more installments of this build before I actually get it on the road. But that's why we're here, to get into those kind of details. So stick with us. We'll be back for more in the Milltown Speed Shop. Thanks for watching.